Hello and welcome back to another episode of LMS Cast. I'm joined by a special guest. Her name is Gina Hoyt. She's from Avoya Travel Academy.com. She's been using Lifter LMS for a bit now. I just found out on multiple sites. But first, welcome to the show, Gina.
Thanks, Chris. Glad to be here.
I'm excited to chat with you today and learn what you're up to and what you've been building. Tell us about Avoya Travel Academy.com. What's the project? What's going on there? What did you build?
Sure. The Avoya Travel Academy we've got an LMS solution that we're pretty proud of. We've implemented a lot of the Lifter solutions from the advanced quizzes, the videos, the audio options, several different things that we love. But what we've built is a course really providing a foundation for a travel agent certification. So those who are new to our industry, who raise their hand and say, hey, I want to be a travel agent, but don't necessarily know where to start. This would be the first place to start is provide, getting some sort of education. So, hey, when you become a travel agent and you affiliate with a host agency, you understand what that looks like and what it's going to take.
How much of the travel agent industry is work from home?
Uh, a lot. So I
Yeah.
would say probably 90% of travel agents leisure travel agents, because there is a difference between leisure and business, but and corporate, but probably 90% of the leisure travel agents work from home today.
And tell us about the industry a little bit. Sometimes we think, oh, the internet. We talked about this before we hit record, but I think it's cool for people to hear. Like you can shop for a house as an example on Zillow, but you still kind of need a real estate agent to make things happen. Um, I think some might argue, well, people can book flights and hotels online. Where does the
Sure.
travel agent fit today? Like, how has the industry evolved given the internet and technology?
Sure. So when it comes to air only, and you're right, we did talk about this a little bit, but if I was still booking travel and somebody came to me and said, hey, Gina, I need a domestic flight from, Seattle to Vegas, I'd say, hey, here's a website, go check it out and go book your flight, right? I mean, because at the end of the day, I'm not going to be able to provide much value as a travel agent to an air only. But if you're talking an international flight or even the whole package, this is really where travel agents, can show their value in terms of what they can offer, not only with pricing, but in their knowledge, right? So you want to put together an entire package. Let's say you want, to visit Venice, Rome, Florence, and end up in London for 3 nights, and you want that all put together. Can you do that yourself? Absolutely. You can. I mean, the truth is you can. However, if you're booking with a travel agent, they're going to know where to go and they're going to have their knowledge to draw from in terms of versus you spending hours yourself looking online, right? And then it's like, is that hotel really what it seems like? Where we have a bunch of knowledge that we can draw from and suppliers that, give us great values and benefits. So, and then very rarely costs you anymore to book with a travel agent. So, I mean, most people don't know that or understand that, but our commissions come from the suppliers. So even if you book with a supplier directly, you're still paying the commission. You're just not paying for the support that goes with it.
Wow, that's cool. I feel like that's a secret of the industry that needs to be out there more so that people know that. Not just the
Sure.
time savings, but you might even save money and yeah, that's super valuable. Tell us more about the professional certificate. When people earn that, what do they do with it? How do they think about it? How do you think about it? What is the certification all about?
So that certification is it's both recognized by CLIA, which is Cruise Lines International Association, and ASTA, which is the American Society of Travel Advisors. We've had both of those organizations review our program and give us a thumbs up. They actually both have some knowledge of what our program is and what it looks like, and the content that we include. So when you come out of the academy, the Avoya Travel Academy, you're going to have a really solid foundation in terms of, number one, how do I set up my business? Because again, we talked about 90% of travel agents today are work from home. Probably very close to that percentage are independent contractors. So they each own and operate their own businesses. But if you don't understand what that means, you could end up getting yourself into a little bit of trouble on the, and then again, there's nothing to be scared of, right? It's just have the knowledge, and that's what we're providing in that certification. It's like, how can you set up your business? What are the different options? What are some of the requirements? Is there a requirement industry wide or in the states that you live in? Things to look for. And again, we're not telling you what to do because you're going to own and operate your own business, so we can't. However, we can provide you some really good insights and suggested best practices in moving forward and what that's going to look like for you.
That's awesome. In entrepreneurship, we talk a lot about the ideal customer profile or the avatar. What type of person, like if you think of the perfect fit person for your program, is like the perfect travel agent? What were they doing before they made the decision to become a travel agent? And now they're on this new journey and they're looking for direction and guidance. Who is that person? Like if you could paint like a picture of them.
So, part of it is, I think that travel agents can come from just about any industry, right? We have a lot of healthcare providers, you know what I mean, that have a lot of people who come from the healthcare industry or even from an education background, but they love to travel. They have that passion and that bug to travel, and they love to be of service. Those are two really good qualities. The other piece of that is to never be afraid to keep looking and asking questions. And like you and I talked about earlier before the show, being that entrepreneur, never being satisfied,
Right.
looking at, okay, yeah, I'm going to do this, but could I do it a little bit better? And always and keep learning. And I think those are some great qualities of travel agents, is they have the passion and they continue to learn.
That makes sense. Yeah, because I'm a traveler. I love traveling. I've been
Sure.
to Florence and Nice and the places you were talking about, and I'm like, yeah, if I was going to go back there, I might avoid this thing, I do that thing, and it makes sense that they have to have that travel passion. Um,
Absolutely.
that's cool. Well, tell us about how you found your way to Lifter LMS when you decided to do this education arm of what you do.
Sure. Thanks. So there are a lot of, especially post COVID, right? There's a lot of people who are working from home who didn't necessarily want to go back into the office, they decided that they wanted to don that little entrepreneur hat, and travel is something they wanted to do. And we, as Avoya, as a network, years ago, we didn't affiliate with anybody new to industry, was only experienced only. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but we wanted to bring that new to travel person in and continue to grow, the industry, not only our network, but just the industry overall. But the biggest thing that what we've seen is people with education, some sort of foundational education, their sales are 50% higher, their commissions are higher, their close rate percentage is higher when they have a solid foundation. So we set out to create a course that can um, provide that foundation. And for me, when I started in this industry 25 plus years ago, I started knowing nothing. And I remember I had interviewed with a agency in the town that I lived in, and I came home and my husband said, "Well, what did they say?" And I'm like, "Well, they offered me the job, but I'm not going to take it." He goes, "What are you going to do?" I said, "I'm going to open my own." And he goes, "Okay." And I didn't know anything about travel, so I made a ton of mistakes, right? And for me, it's I love being of service. I love helping the next guy, that next person in line who really wants to learn our industry. And so the big thing is, it's like, you don't have to make these same mistakes. Let me help you. Let us help you, show you the way, to give you that foundation. Are you going to make mistakes? 100%. You are. I promise. But hopefully it's not as expensive as the ones I made. But anyway, so that's kind of how we ended up here. How we ended up with Lifter is we looked at several different LMS resources, and I was sharing with you, I actually seen an advertisement for Lifter. I had never heard of it before, and I went, "What is this?" And so I started digging in, and I loved the resources that that Lifter provides, um, and how easy it was to build and also to teach my team. Right? It's like I can teach my team how to maneuver within the software, and they're not afraid. Once I show them, it's super simple, and there's no fear there. And so those were some really big things for us. Is like, can we do what we want to do? And is it repeatable? Can I show my team members? And absolutely. And so thank you for that. We love the software.
Awesome. Was this project your first foray into WordPress, or did you have some history with WordPress already?
I've had a little bit of history in WordPress. It's been years. When I had my brick and mortar, I built a website. So that was years ago, by the way. So nothing recent. But I'm pretty persistent, and if I want to do something, I tend to eventually figure it out. Or I'm not afraid to ask questions either.
I think you've already answered my next question, which was, learning WordPress. I know you had some previous experience, but learning Lifter, there's like a lot of features and bells and whistles and things to figure out, decisions to make. What advice would you have from somebody going into that journey of building an online education website, from the standpoint that you said you were persistent? So to me, that's the answer, persistence. But what else would you add around that?
So for me, Lifter, your team makes so many videos available, right? And so for me, it was like I tend I can read and learn, but if I watch and learn, for me, that's how I learn. So I would sit in videos, and I would listen, and then I would pause, and then I would try, and then I turn it back on. You know what I mean? So again,
Yeah.
that persistence. But so if it was me, if I was recommending somebody, if this is something that you're looking at, go look at the videos, go watch them. They're out there. You guys make it available. Thank you, by the
Yeah.
way, because I could have never done it otherwise. But I mean, it's all there, and that's how I did it. It was just by that persistence, um and watching the things that are available versus saying, "Hey, this isn't available," or "I don't know how to do this." Go look. It's there. I promise you.
I think last time I checked, we had 1,700 videos on our YouTube channel, and that's just YouTube. That's not our documentation and stuff. So
Yeah.
I appreciate you saying that. Um, are there any features that you like most, or like parts of the software that you or your team likes, or that's super valuable to the project?
So, um, we love being able to use the engagements, like the automatic certificate awarding and triggering emails. I mean, I've literally used all of those engagements to do everything
All
for
of
the
them.
team, so we don't have to.
Yeah.
I love it. I absolutely love it, because that just takes time off of. I mean, those are things that we used to do manually, and I don't have to do that anymore. Neither does the team. And so we appreciate that. The advanced videos, I love that, because somebody wants to plow through a course, and I understand wanting to go through quickly. I understand it, but I want people to stop, right, and actually absorb what you're learning. So we love the advanced videos, the fact that they can't they can't advance without, and we get that all the time. The button's not active. My first response is, go watch the video. you know go watch the video, and I promise it'll appear. So anyway, I mean, you guys have done a great job in terms of making the course layout, how to build it. The course builder is super simple. um, and then the different features between the advanced videos. There was something else too, I forgot. Anyway, but thank you again.
Yeah. And what other tools besides Lifter LMS and WordPress do you find kind of mission critical for your online education business? You mentioned
Which
GoDaddy. Do you use them for hosting?
Okay, thank you. I was like, what are you talking about? Yeah, yes. So actually, we do use GoDaddy. we've got a couple of our product development teams that are considering maybe some other options because, like I mentioned, we have three different websites, a fourth one that we're launching right now, getting ready to launch with a new education. With the potential of bringing a lot more enrollees. So we're just looking at, is it continuing to be our best interest there? Do we want to go someplace else? But some of the other plugins, and we try to kind of limit the amount of plugins that we use just because I don't want any conflicts.
Yeah.
But some of the other, I mean, we actually use Elementor and Elementor Pro for some of our WordPress features. So the advanced quizzes, I know you asked what are some of the other things, but that comes from Lifter. So while I don't necessarily use a lot of that feature on the Academy website, and on two of our other websites that other teams are using, they use the features of the advanced quizzes. So again, some great opportunity that we use there. And then we also use front-end premium or front-end admin, excuse me. And then there's the Publish Press capabilities pro. So to limit, so like my team, I limit what they can see. Like if they log into the WordPress website, there's only certain things that I want them to be able to access. I don't want them to see everything and be able to maneuver with everything. So there's a few different things that we use.
What about, you mentioned videos. What do you do for video usually? Is it mostly you? Is it are you recording the videos in like Zoom or ScreenFlow or some Camtasia? What do you use in that department?
So I have a few videos that I've done that I actually record in Zoom and I throw them into Camtasia and edit them. And then other team members, same thing. But we also have some videos from some of our suppliers because we have some of their certification courses within our program because our suppliers have seen our product and they're like, we want our certification program in your academy. So we pull videos from there. Now we used to house all of our videos in our own
was it Vimeo or?
It was not Vimeo, but with the advanced videos, we ended up transitioning all of our videos over to Vimeo so we could use that advanced video feature.
Okay. That's awesome. Tell us about just like how you gauge the success of Avoya Travel Academy. Like what kind of impact have you been able to have or maybe a story about somebody's life that changed because of the training? Just what kind of impact is the platform having?
So for us, what we look at is, okay, so we have a test group, right, of students, or excuse me, of new to travel who came to the industry who had no education, right? And then we compare those who come through the education and we compare them post graduation, post certification. Graduation isn't the appropriate certification. And we compare those two groups in terms of sales and close rate percentages. And as I mentioned earlier, those who take the certification, they have a much stronger base and foundation to begin with. Their sales, their commissions, and their close rate percentage are averaging upwards over 50% higher than those who did not take that foundational education. So what that means for somebody, they're going to stay in our industry longer, right? They're going to get to do the thing that they visioned, that they had a vision for, and that they love doing longer because they're not going to get so frustrated. I mean, that was, I think, part of which was so hard about bringing somebody in new to travel who doesn't have a foundation, who doesn't understand what it means. It's like, though, because there's not that foundational understanding, they may run into a hiccup or a challenge or make a mistake, and they'll turn, tuck their tail between their legs and they'll leave. And it's like, no, don't leave. Let's walk through and figure out how to make this better. But we're able to eliminate some of those before they ever get started.
I want to go back to something you said earlier. You mentioned that you were getting some resources from the industry to include in the training resources. Is that something you have to license or they're just happy to give you? Or because sometimes it can be a little overwhelming if we have to create everything ourselves when there's all this other great stuff out there. Tell us more about that content.
So we have some of our, and if you go to our website, if you look at avoyatravelaacademy.com, you're going to see sponsored by Norwegian Cruise Line, sponsored by Colette. Those are two major industry suppliers who have allowed us to use some of with there are agreements in place on the backside with those two suppliers in terms of what that's going to look like. So we don't just go take their content. We have agreements in place, and then there's also another third party out there that they've been in the industry a lot longer than the 25 years I've been here, and so we've partnered with them as well and have an agreement in place with them and some of their content, and so they've provided us some content. So we're really pulling content from a lot of different areas. I've written and created content, some of my team has, and then we have other industry people who have brought it all together.
I love that. Sometimes it's not just about being a content creator, but also a curator. You're bringing in and assembling the best possible stuff.
Absolutely.
Just a quick fun story sidetrack. I'm sure you mentioned Norwegian Cruise Lines. Are you familiar with, I'm sure you are, like Alaska cruises?
Yes, been about 6 times, but anyway, go ahead.
So before I did Lifter LMS, I used to work at a helicopter supported sled dog tour business on a glacier above Juneau. So the cruise ships would come in. Some of those were Norwegian, and people would fly up in the helicopter, and we'd take them out on sled dog rides. So that's my old connection to the Norwegian cruise industry.
Love it. Love it.
Um, Tell us more about, like, I call it the offer stack. So is this like one mega certification course? Is it a collection of courses? Is it like what kind of support is included? Like if somebody has a question as they're going through it, like what's in the stack of the offer?
So we have one course. We do one course, and there's about 119 lessons within that course. So it's one big one to get through. We give everybody 100 days to get through the
Okay.
education. We do have a timeline on there. And at the end of the day, it's like if somebody's having a struggle, I mean, we understand life happens. So to reach out to us, we can always work with somebody on that in terms of what that looks like. In terms of support, myself and my team. We um we support people all the way through. If they have any questions, we have a team email. We ask people to send their questions to the team email, because if you send an email to me directly, or you send an email directly to one of my team members, and let's say they're not in the office that day, you're not going to hear back right away. Where it's most efficient to send it to our team email, we pick up the phone, we call people. They can actually schedule. We have a link in all of our emails, because it's not just a register, take your money, and you never hear from us again. In that 100 days, you're going to probably get 9 or 10 emails from you know what I mean, throughout that process, just touching bases. Hey, we want people to know, look, we're here. We're here to help, and we're here to support you. If you have questions, let us know. So you can call, you can email, you can schedule a call with one of our team members if you have any questions, if something's not working. Technically, our office hours are Tuesday through Saturday, but I tend to watch emails on Sunday too, just because that's who I am. I struggle with walking away. So, yeah, I mean, there's a ton of support. I mean, we're here to see people succeed, not to take their money, have them register for a course and walk away. You know what I mean? I mean, we want to see everybody succeed. So,
I think that's fantastic. I've done a lot of these interviews and talked to a lot of Lifter LMS users, and the ones that are most successful, they support their people outside of the content, whatever that means. You mentioned phone calls and emails, whatever that is. Like people sometimes need a little help along the way, not just access to great content. So my hat's off to you.
thanks.
You mentioned you had 3 or 4 other LMS projects in the works or actively going on. How have you branched out from avoyatravelacademy.com?
So they're all industry related and all related back to Avoya in some way, shape, or form. They are my employer, um, so but we have, like I mentioned, we have the Travel Academy. We also have, so for Avoya as a host agency, the Avoya Network, the Avoya Travel Network, there's a host agency for independent agency owners. So there's education that we have support teams that offer education, like our early success team. They talk about sales and different things like that, and destinations. And so there is a project there where we have a platform where those teams use the Lifter software for that type of education, which is separate from the Travel Academy. And then we have internal training for some of our teams, right? So some of the different support teams for Avoya, we offer education training, I guess, for employees. And then we have a fourth one that we're getting ready to launch. Remember, I talked about, while we love and we want to provide Avoya and our agents the best possible resources available, we have a commitment to our industry too, to the travel industry overall. And there is not a requirement, right, for somebody to say, like, if you want to be a lawyer, you got to go to school for a lawyer. You know what I'm saying? If they're
Yeah.
in the travel industry, there's not a mandated certification that you have to do. But what we find is, again, and I keep touching on this, is those who are in our industry who have a foundation, who understand what it means, they're much more successful. And so we really feel I don't know if obligated is the right word, but we have a desire, right, to help our industry overall. So we're actually providing a white label product. So some of our other host agencies in the industry will be able to provide their agents and their new to network agents an education resource as well, because for whatever reason, maybe they don't have the resources available to create it, or the team, the manpower, whatever the reason is, and we'll be able to bring that to the table for them, and it'll be branded with their information. So yeah, it's like pretty exciting.
I love that. I mean, you're keeping the focus on the industry and the travel agents at the heart of that, and and really getting as much impact as you can out there, whether it's your team, Avoya, the industry, it all kind of works together and everybody wins. It's not, I call it the infinite game, which is somebody somebody doesn't have to lose for somebody else to win. It's just let's help everybody, basically.
And I was always taught the sun shines for everyone. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? There's enough to go around. And that's, I mean, even when I owned my travel agency and I would hear people get frustrated, I would talk to another agent. Well, this customer went and booked so and so, and I'm like, you have to remember, the sun shines for everyone. Maybe there was a better connection there. It doesn't matter. There's going to be somebody else coming. You know what I mean? And we really want to provide, again, the sun shines for everyone, and we want to provide something industry overall that benefits all of us. So.
What's your vision for the future? You've been doing this for a bit, like you're doing a lot already, but like is there anywhere else you're wanting to go with this, or what is your plan to make Royal Travel Academy even better?
So, future goals, we're not there yet, is we're going to provide some ongoing education, so some additional courses. Again, we're not there yet. I've got my head in too many other arenas right this second. But as soon as those calm down and we get those, launched and implemented, then we'll start, doing some research for some additional certifications. For, again, not just the agents in our network, but overall industry wide.
I love that. And it's also what's interesting about your story is this industry is not like heavily controlled or regulated. It's not like you have to have certain training or continuing ed, but you've realized that, hey, these people need this. I'll provide it. People are using it. They're getting paid 50% better or doing better in the career they've chosen. I think it's really cool. It's not like you're asking for permission. You're just doing the thing that these people need and helping improve their lives. That's really cool. Uh, Fun final question for you. um, so in leisure travel, I know this is a broad question, but what are some counterintuitive, underappreciated trips that people could do or ways to think about vacation um, that from your time in the industry, you realize, hey, there's a lot of opportunity off the beaten path over here, or maybe try this, but do this differently? I'm just looking for some insight from the inside of travel. Like, what are some counterintuitive insights or little known secrets?
Oh my.
There's probably a lot.
There's a so my head goes, which part of the world, right? It's like because to me the world is like a candy store, right? And it's like you for me, I walk into this candy store and I go, oh, where do I start? Which piece
Well,
do I want first?
let's divide it into three parts. Let's say North America, Europe, Asia. So like if you were to do those three, uh, what are some off the beaten path things or little known counterintuitive
Um,
insights?
Asia, Vietnam.
Okay.
I oh, Halong Bay. If you stay in a junk for a couple nights out on Halong Bay, um, I know. So one of the state colleges in the state that I live in, they have a business group that goes. I don't know if it's every other year. The students in their business degree program. When I was selling travel, I actually had a friend who was in that course for a while. And so she came to me and I started doing that every other year for them. And we would put some of the most amazing trips together coming down through central Vietnam and on the coastline, and Halong Bay by far over and over every year was like the winner. People loved being out on a junk, for a couple of nights and having that experience. So if you're going to Asia and you have an opportunity to do Vietnam, go to Halong Bay. Okay, so there's that piece. Europe. I know this is there's so much. I love Europe.
Yeah.
So, holy cow, there's a lot of really cool things, and I could go on and on. But one of my favorite cities which is probably not most, but I love Amsterdam. I love the
Mhm.
canals. I love that whole thing. So Rome's another one, but there's a lot of things to go see and do. Ay ay ay. Um, while Greece is amazing, I hate the flight. I'm West Coast, so for me trying
Okay.
to get there, I tend to stay away just because of the flight. You know what I mean? I struggle with flights, but Africa. If you ever I want to do a safari in Africa, make sure you do one that has the hot air balloons over the Serengeti. I mean, nothing
Okay.
like it. Again, something little. Not everybody. You can't book it through everybody, but if you're going to look into that, be sure and do the hot air balloon over the Serengeti. It's amazing. Um, North America, holy cow. Mm, hmm. I love Hawaii, but that's for me that's like I know I'm West Coast, so again for me
Yeah.
it's like a bread and butter thing. When I was selling travel, everybody does it, you know what I mean? But train travel, Trans Canada
Mm.
on Via
Oh yeah.
Rail is amazing with the domed cars and the meals, and I mean nothing like it. So that's really cool going East Coast to West Coast. Um, and I've been anyway. So I don't know if I answered your questions, but I've
You did, and I'll let me actually throw two more on real quick. What about Mexico?
what about it? I love Mexico. I mean, if you're looking for all inclusive, and I hear this a lot because I have a lot of friends who hear, oh, don't go to Mexico because of this and because of that, and I'll tell you the same thing would tell them is as long as you stay in the areas you're supposed to be in, you're going to be fine. Do you know what I mean? It's like
Mhm.
you're going to be fine. But if you decide to venture out on your own and go into an area that you shouldn't be in, you might run into some trouble. But I hate to tell you, you're going to find that in the United States anywhere. So
Yeah.
any major city that you go to. So yeah, it's fine. And um, there's a ton of great resorts, all inclusive resorts. If you know, my kids, they went for their honeymoon last year. I mean, I was a couple years ago, not my honeymoon, but I've been married for a lot of years. But you know what I mean. I mean, we go. So I'm not afraid to be in Mexico. We find it safe. Like I said, as long as you're going to the areas and you stay in the areas that you're to be in.
And last one, I may have a trip coming up to the Philippines. Is there anything do you have any intel on the Philippines?
So, in terms of Philippines, I guess, what type of travel are you looking for? I
Uh,
mean,
let let's say
what
I was at a business conference in Manila and then wanted to take a week or so at, like, a more beach, kinda low-key environment.
So, are you wanting to just like go to a resort and stay, or are you wanting to like maybe do a tour and see more? I mean, what do you know what I mean? There's so many. It's not just a hey, I want to go here. What do you got? There's really an entire conversation for somebody, for a travel agent, right? To provide you what you want. There's an extensive conversation that needs to be had in terms of, what are your expectations. I mean, if you have this thing of like, well, I want to visit this and this, but you say I want to go to the Philippines and stay at a beach resort, and somebody gives you that, you're going to be highly disappointed because that's not what you had in mind.
Right.
So yeah, it's not a simple question of go here. Unfortunately, I'm sorry.
I love that. Yeah, I guess so we as travelers, we need to do more research and at least get directionally not just like the geography location, but like what's the experience we're going for? What things do we want to see? What
Well, and
types of yeah,
yeah, and I think, the a travel agent, right, who has a really good solid foundation, they're going to be able to start asking you those questions, right? They're going to know, hey, this is a great destination. Now, share with me some of are you going to be traveling with family, with children? Is it just you? Or what are some of the experiences you want? Then they can take all of that information, put it together. I kind of like refer to it as a puzzle. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And I used to take all this information and put it together like a puzzle. And then I'd provide you, okay, here, this is what the puzzle can look like. What are your thoughts? What do you think? Is there anything in here that I didn't include that you want to see? Or is there too much and we need to take some of it out, some of it out? So, anyway, it's a big puzzle. It's lots of fun.
that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, that's Gina Hoyt. She's from Avoya Travel Academy.com. Is there anywhere else people can connect with you or any final words you have?
Sure. On the academy, you can always send me an email, which is just gina.hoyt@avoyatravel.com.
Awesome, Gina. Well, thank you for coming on the show and thank you for being a shining example of what I call the education entrepreneur and your persistence and all the value you're creating in the world, helping in this industry and helping your team and all of that. It's I love seeing what you're up to. So thank you.
Thanks for having me, Chris.